Welcome back to 7 Minute Options on Friday, October 1st. We just finished September, which was apparently the worst month on the stock market since the COVID crash of April 2020. Think about that, the worst month in a year and a half. And still, the S&P 500 eked out a narrow gain for the month of September. So, yeah, it's been crazy. Volatility is all over the place. That massive Evergrande bankruptcy thing that's happening in China is definitely got a lot of people spooked. But anyway, so far the stock market's doing okay. I can't complain. We had another good day today, up 500 for the day, but didn't do all that well for the week. I'm still more or less flat for the week. I mean, some days my P&L for the year goes up, and some days it goes down. But overall, we're holding steady. So not a lot happening. Obviously, my buying power is at 2,000, and I'm not happy about. I don't really want to open up more positions right now, but I do want to take a look at my buying power. So what I did is I sorted my portfolio here in terms of my cap requirement. How am I using my buying power? And so I want to take a look at Pinterest for a little bit. How did I end up in this position in Pinterest? It's worth a look. So right now in Pinterest, I own 100 shares, and I have a strangle on. So you could call this a covered strangle. I think that's the term most people would use. It's a combination of a naked put with a covered call, covered strangle. But it's sucking up $3,700 of buying power, right? Considering that I only have $2,100 of buying power left right now, this is massive, right? If I can close out this position, I could get $3,700 of buying power back. And so I started taking a closer look. So a bit of a history lesson. How did we get here? So if I filter my history just for Pinterest, this all started with an earnings trade back at the end of July. So Pinterest reported their earnings back at the end of July, and I opened up a Jade Lizard, right? So what I did is I sold the 66 naked put. I sold a $1 wide credit call spread, and all told, I collected $140 in credit. This is the kind of position that I put on for most earnings plays. When I do an earnings play, it's usually a Jade Lizard, and it's been working out really well for me. This one did not work out very well. So what happened was Pinterest melted down. If I look at this here, massive drop. So right before earnings, it was trading for about 76, and then after the earnings call, it went down to 58. Now, usually after the massive move during earnings, it kind of rebounds, right? You would expect, okay, it went down to 58, but maybe it'll come back to the low 60s or mid 60s. Didn't happen. It stayed low. It stayed well below 60. Actually, it did. It peaked above 60, but it kind of stayed low. And actually, I was getting ready to roll. So this was expiring on the Friday, like a week and a half later on the Friday, of course, after the earnings call. And I was thinking, okay, a couple of days before the earnings call, I'm going to roll out the naked put, let the naked call spread expire worthless. And before I could roll the put, I got an early assignment. And so I had to take the 100 shares at $66, and that was my short put. That's what you see here. I have 100 shares at $66. So that's a massive loss for me, right? So if the shares right now are trading for $52, and I bought them for 66, and I bought 100 shares for 66, then you can tell I'm down roughly $1,350, give or take. That is my loss on the shares. And so in that case, what I do is, okay, I have the shares, but let's just open up a covered strangle and let's roll it out month by month by month, and let's slowly climb out of that hole. And so far, you can see the stock has been going sideways, which has been very good for me. So if I look at all the positions I've opened and rolled, everything, just let's take out the 6,600 I spent on the 100 shares. And you can see here, as soon as I got assigned, there you go. There's a covered strangle, and I rolled it 3 times now. And I have collected so far. So far, I've collected $1,000 in credit premium, right? $1,000 in premium after rolling. Now, after $1,000, I still have a naked strangle that's open. So, sorry, covered strangle that's open after $1,000. So my goal right now is to get out of that $1,300 or $1,400 hole that I'm in, and then I can close it out. And so far, I've clawed back $1,000 of that $1,350. So really, I'm only down $400 right now. However, it is like all stocks, they report earnings every 3 months, and so I'm coming up on the next earnings trade. That being said, Getting back to buying power. So if I look at the theta, I'm getting 8 theta, right? So on average, all things being equal, if the stock doesn't move a penny during the day, then on average, theoretically, I'm supposed to be making $8 a day. This number is dynamic, so it does get higher as we get closer and closer to expiration. But right now, I'm 49 days away, so it doesn't change by all that much, but $8 a day. And if I spent $3,700 of buying power on 8 theta, that gives me about $450 per theta, which is actually not bad. That's pretty good. My personal goal is to get between 300 and 500 bucks for each theta, so this isn't too bad. So why do I have the 100 shares? So I can get rid of this 100 shares. Like, it doesn't cost all that much to have a naked strangle on Pinterest. So just to show you, if I go out to, say, December, right? I have no positions open in Pinterest in December. And let's say I want to open a strangle. So let's say I want to go out to the 23 delta, sell a naked put, and I go to the 22 delta, sell a naked call. It's $447 buying power, right? I give up I get 345 bucks in credit. I only give up $447 buying power. That's actually not bad. And this is actually not a bad trade. The only risk here is that we do have earnings on October 27th. And Pinterest does have these $2,000 moves. If you don't believe me, check this out. So at one point here in January of this year, Pinterest was at right around 65-ish. And then a month later, it was up at 91. And then it was back down to 60. That's a 30-point move. And then it bounced around a little bit. Check it out. From March 24th, when it was 65, until April 14th, it went 88. So that's more than 20 points. So by keeping the 100 shares, I have no risk to the upside, right? Yes, I have a 60 call, but if the stock all of a sudden shoots up to 70 bucks, 80 bucks, the 100 shares with my covered call, there's no risk for me on the upside. I will still have the $60 call. I can roll it out as much as I want, but there's no risk of me losing money on the call itself. On the put, yeah, the naked put is a naked put. So if this stock all of a sudden after earnings, if Pinterest goes down to 45, 40, 35, then yes, I'll add to my losses, basically. I'll have an even bigger loss than I have so far. But considering that I got hammered on this earnings trade, the stock didn't recover. Instead of $1,300 in losses, I've actually recovered about $1,000 so far, and I have a pretty good position. I have a $50 put, a covered call. So basically, on this I'm not scared of the earnings play. The reason why I'm not scared of the earnings play is I'm not really all that worried about this dropping down further. I mean, Pinterest has been trading for much higher than it is today. Right now, it's trading for 52, but over the past month, it's been as high as 90, and most of the time, it's been higher than this. And if it does shoot up and we move another 20 or 30 points, the 100 shares protect me on the upside. However, if the market has a bit of a hiccup, okay, like we have something happening in China, or we got a war breakout, or an oil refinery sets on fire, or there's a new variant in COVID or whatever, then yeah, I can actually just buy back the 100 shares. So check this out. If I were to buy back the 100 shares in Pinterest, because it only costs us about $500 to open up a strangle, and so if I want to sell these 100 shares, my buying power would go up. So just to show you what that would look like, if I look at Pinterest and I want to say sell 100 shares, right? I would get the $5,000 cash for selling 100 shares, and my buying power would go up by $2,400. That's a $2,400 credit to my buying power. So my buying power would go back to like 4,500, right? The 2,100 I have now plus this 2,400. The risk I would have is that now I would have another naked strangle going through earnings, which is what I had before. And Pinterest does like to have these massive moves. So if I were to do that, if I would decide to sell the 100 shares, I would most likely buy back the naked strangle and close that position, because these are pretty big moves in Pinterest. So if you are going to hold naked positions in Pinterest, be careful. Remember, I had a Jade Lizard, and Jade Lizard had no risk on the upside during this earnings call. I only had risk on the downside, and I got hammered. So this is about as bad as earnings trades get, and yet I'm climbing out of it. So if this earnings trade isn't too bad for Pinterest, if Pinterest doesn't go down, remember, if Pinterest goes sideways during earnings, I'm fine. If Pinterest goes up during earnings, I'm fine. Because remember, I only need to climb another $400 or $500 away, right? If Pinterest goes, let's say, back to 60, I make $750 on the shares. I make no money on the call. And me making 750 on the shares would more than help me climb out of this hole. And so, yeah, basically this is one way to look at earnings. You get hammered on an earnings call, take the 100 shares, keep selling covered strangles, and keep rolling them out month after month until you climb out of it. And again, I've clawed back $1,000 out of the 1,400 that I lost. And if you have an underlying that isn't crazy volatile like Pinterest, then maybe you don't even need the shares. The shares really just protect you on the upside. But anyway, bit of a ramble, but that's my thought process behind buying power. If my buying power gets challenged and it goes down to 1,000, goes down to 500, heaven forbid goes negative, I'm just going to close out Pinterest, get my $3,700 buying power back. Now it is dynamic, right? Especially on the downside. So if Pinterest all of a sudden melts down to 45 or 40, I wouldn't get $3,700 back. I would only get like $2,500 back or something. But that's still $2,500 of buying power that I would get back, and I would be able to basically hold the rest of these positions. So not a whole lot in terms of strategy. Again, I don't want to open any more positions with my buying power this low. I'm definitely going to hold this position in Pinterest until earnings, which is another 3 weeks away. What did I say? When that was October 27th. Wow, at the end of the month. Okay, so I'll be holding Pinterest for most of October, and we'll see how it moves between now and earnings. Although it's just moving sideways right now, which is okay. Because remember, we're getting 8 Theta. So if it's moving sideways, I'll take the $8 a day. Thank you very much. I'm very happy with it. Other than that, everything's fine. Palantir is going sideways. Palantir is the same thing. I have 100 shares and the put in the call, and that's been going more or less sideways. It's very good for me. And then Fubo, SoFi, same kind of deal, holding steady. I really need SoFi to go up. I just rolled on my positions there. I was able to roll them out for a credit because SoFi was above 17, but I really need SoFi to stay around the $17 range for me to be able to roll out my positions month after month, because it's a very bullish position I have in SoFi. Fubo, same deal, 100 shares and a strangle there, so that's another covered strangle. That's been working very well for me. But anyway, so that's where most of my buying power is tied up, is Pinterest. And I don't mind holding Palantir and SoFi and Fubo and Joby. They've been doing really well. But it's Pinterest that's just the $3,700 is a bit outsized. However, for 8 Theta, I'm still okay with it. I don't mind paying $450 for a Theta. So yeah, that's my position. That's where I am right now. Just waiting for the market to do what it does and waiting for me to be able to close out some of these positions here, maybe a month from now. So that's why I haven't posted a lot of videos, because I haven't done anything. I'm just kind of watching this day after day. And that's it. All right. Thanks. Have a good weekend.